This is Jarvis come to join me. Hello, gorgeous. What you doing? Yes, you good boy. Hello, lovely people. It's been a long time. So I just had a quick squiz back at my last video, and it turns out that was in October 2020. So that was, well, let's face it, it's just been quite some time. Obviously, just life gets in the way, things happen, that's just all it is. Hope you're doing well, hope this video sees you well. If you're still subscribed, thank you for not tidying up your YouTube. And if you've just sort of found me, I do have a few videos of back catalogue, but not too much. I think this is just now episode 12. I am a knitter who lives in Victoria, Australia. I actually live near Bendigo. I always go to our Bendigo woolen sheep show, with the exception of this year because I was teaching and couldn't get the day off. And if you're outside of Australia, it's essentially our equivalent of America's Rhinebeck. It's a 3-day festival and it's just been on at the end of July, and it is currently the beginning of August. It's August 7. So that's only just sort of happened in the last couple of weeks. But I have made sure that I have the day off for the Bendigo Sheep and Wool Show next year. So even though it's still on a Friday, I actually like to go on the Friday and go to the Women of Wool luncheon and do a lot of networking and that type of thing. So I'm absolutely making sure I get there next year. All right. So today I'm probably just going to run through my works in progress and things that I've completed that I could quickly find since I last podcasted. And it's obviously been quite some time. Now I've probably done 6 or 7 pairs of socks, but I could find these ones easily. These are just a pair of shorty socks on a self-striping yarn, just with a bottle green toe and hem. Just nice little shorties. I love knitting shorties because they're so quick, but in practical terms, I actually typically like my 7-inch leg because as a high school teacher, I actually predominantly wear Doc Martens to work. So these guys I can't wear with my Docs because they're too short. But I do wear these when I wear my Converses or that type of thing. We've got a sports carnival on Wednesday, so I'll probably wear these with my Converses then. But otherwise I typically wear a boot sock. So I do love these. My socks, my woolen socks get a lot of wear. Now I did happen to notice, just let me take one of these off. When I had that quick scroll through my last episode, I was knitting up these guys. I was doing these toe up, and you'll see how much wear they're getting because they're actually quite felted. And I promise you they are clean, but this has been 2 years of wear. So that's how 2 years of wear shows. You can see it's getting a bit of felting on the heel. So I apologise that they don't look the best anymore, but I live in my handmade socks. We've actually got like a mini closed tub in the bathroom that all of our hand knits go into, and I typically wash all our hand knits every weekend and then just hanging out by the fire. It's winter for us here, so it's currently 6 degrees, which I think is maybe close to 30 degrees or something for Americans. So it's quite cool today. It's 6 degrees and it's 9 o'clock in the morning. So I've got the fireplace on. I've got a wood delivery on its way. All right. So mittens throughout the winter. Oh, first of all, let me start with what I'm actually wearing. This is Yumi that I'm wearing. I love the lace detail, and I'm actually genuinely going to knit another one of these. Really love it. This is by Isabell Kraemar. I have put a couple of stripes here. I did that only because I was worried that I was actually going to run out of this grey yarn. This is a really nice rustic yarn from Bendigo Wool Mills. It's 5-ply rustic, so it is a little bit rougher. It's not as soft as some, but my preference, especially in the winter, is for something that's a bit more hard wearing. So long as it's not scratchy, I'm okay with it. I find often, unless it's a softer yarns, unless they really have a high twist, I really get a lot of pilling. Now that's not so terrible because I can just glean the woolens. But this particular jumper or sweater is quite a workhorse. I wear this to school probably once a week. So, alright, I'm just partway through unpicking this at the moment because I cast it off, but I actually want to put on another couple of rows and then do a ribbing. So I'm just working on a mitten pattern. I sort of had cast it off, but I'm not happy with the way that's rolling. So I'm planning on doing about 1 inch on the thumb. So I'm just unpicking this, and then I'll pick up the stitches again and probably just do 4 or 5 rows of ribbing, and then I'll do the other thumb. This is another Bendigo Woolen Mills, and from the feel of it, this one is classic. It's not luxury. So they've got in their yarns, this is an 8-ply, which is a DK. In their yarns, they have luxury, which is particularly soft, quite a high micron count. Then they have classic, which is this one here. So still quite soft, washes up really nicely, a little bit sturdier though. But this is still a superwash merino, a superwash wool. And then they've got their rustic range, which is actually my preference. Sorry, the dogs are... I'll pop a photo or a short little video up here so you can see Jarvis. The dog's making all this noise. Right, sorry, you can see it's Jarvis, the brown one. Little brown one is Blue and little black one is Spencer. All right, so their bloom range and their rustics are my preferred because they're non-superwash, and I've particularly fallen in love with anything that's non-superwash. But because I happen to live in Bendigo and be right near the Bendigo Woolen Mills, well, about 20 minutes away, I have an addiction that I need to work on, because I'll go in there and tell my husband I'm just going to go in and pick up 3 or 4 balls of yarn for a particular project, and then I'll walk out with a bag full. And I need to stop that, because these kind of tubs that I've got here, I would have, I think it's 2 of these. So I've got 16 of these in my bedroom, and they're chockers, so I can't fit anything else in them. And then out in the lounge room here, I've got another 3, about another 10 out here, and they're all quite full too. So that's the rustic. So you can see here, the rustic yarns have that little bit of coloration in them, almost looks heathered. So they're really quite nice. And a ball like this, the rustic is typically, so these are 200 gram balls, so 400 meters, and they're typically around about $15. The luxury is $17. And they'll occasionally come out with different ones. This pink, well, pink isn't my color. This was a blend of merino and alpaca, and it's particularly nice and soft, but alpaca is no good for me. I get itchy straight from alpaca. That's the rustic again. So I said the rustic has that nice heathered look to it. Don't mind my nails. As a teacher, I also run our Pride Club at school, so I typically always have Pride things on. This is that bloom. So while I've got this, there's obviously only a little bit left, but this is non-superwash, and their bloom range has a lot of the like barber pole mild look going through them, and it's a gradient colour typically. Alright, sorry I got distracted then. So I should hopefully finish off these mittens today. I desperately need them because we're in winter here, and especially at school I have yard duties first up Monday morning out at the bus stop at school, so mittens are needed for that. And yeah, it's quite cold. Mittens are what saved me. Alright, now this beanie, I knitted this yesterday. Now I can't stand it. It has a purpose though. My husband's also a school teacher. His house at school, so when you have sporting days you represent a house, his house is yellow. So this, it was the Jelka hat. One sec. Yep, Isabell Kraemar. So this is the Jelka hat. So I've done the folded brim, and it's yellow because his house is yellow. I would not be scored dead. Now I did have to adjust it. So this is the colour work that she has there with slip stitches. And I've just used a low contrast sort of yellowy orange for that. I actually quite like the way that that pattern knits up. Now my husband's head isn't weird, but he sort of likes to wear his beanies in a way that's quite short. So I actually had to modify and do a quicker cast off. then the hat would have come. And my husband is anti-pom-poms, so there's no pom-poms on this. But this is a nice soft beanie. You can see the nice pattern here. And while I personally, I suppose it's not that bad. Yellow is not my favourite colour. My house at school is green, so I need to knit something for green because we've got a sports day on Wednesday. But anyway, so that's for him for his sports carnival. Now, I live in a cold climate, being Bendigo, although not cold compared to other parts of the world. And I love my hot water bottle. So I needed a hot water bottle cover. Now, I've always had one, but I had it it had worn through a couple of years ago and I was just putting up with it. Now, I didn't follow a pattern for this, and I need to do a better bind off. This is not as stretchy a bind off as it should be, and it's a little bit big. I'm actually going to do a couple of more of these because I quite like the cover. And all I did for the bottom was almost like I do when I do a toe-up sock. So I just cast on in that toe-up sock way, and then just did some increases, knitted straight up, then did some decreases, and then just did a ribbing here. When I fill it up, I just obviously pull the neck of this out, fill it up. But yeah, I should change the cast off, but I think I'll just end up knitting another one. So that was me being practical. Sockhead hats. I have avoided knitting sockhead hats for a long time because I love knitting socks, but even knitting socks are a little bit painful with tiny needles and tiny yarn. But I knitted a sockhead hat for my grandson. That's another change. My eldest child has had a baby. My daughter, Grace, has had a baby young boy named Arlo. Now he's 3 months old at the moment. So I knit him a little sockhead hat, and I'll pop that on screen here. And I enjoyed knitting it so much that I've actually knitted a couple more. So I knitted myself for school for Pride Club. Oops, that's the back because I've got my tail that I've woven in there. So let me just change this around. This is a Pride yarn, just in the sockhead hat. I got to tell you, I'm actually a new convert, I think, to the sockhead hats. They're so warm because of the dense fabric and so light that you barely feel that you're wearing them. So I think I'm going to have some more sockhead hats in my future. So that's in the Pride yarn. And then I had a ball of, or a skein I should say, of 4-ply possum yarn. So this is a super fine merino and possum. Not Australian possum, it's New Zealand possum. They're pests there. They're a beloved animal here. And this is light like a cloud. It's so fluffy because of the possum, but it would be the warmest beanie that I've got. And I've been particularly prolific in knitting DK weight Musselburgh hats. So I actually think this one with the possum is a little bit warmer than the Musselburgh hats. So anyway, so I've knitted that. Now I will put a picture of me wearing these jumpers here. I did a test knit for the Knitting Expat, and I'll link her down below. So this was that jumper here, and this is all in Bendigo Woolen Mills, but I've mixed the styles. So this charcoal here is in the rustic, and then these are in the classic, I think, the rest of it. So it just sort of has a nice gradient pattern, some really nice rib stitches here. The only issue I found, it's one of those things doing a test knit, is when you're changing yarns, in the original pattern shed, you're changing at the back, so you actually got a bit of a line there. Not that that matters too much, like, I mean, so what? It's a hand knit, things happen. But this is actually a really nice jumper to wear. I wear this one a fair bit, especially in the cold, because it's incredibly warm. And unfortunately, when I took some photos for the test knit, I wore it and took photos, and I had my husband wear it and took some photos of him wearing it. And it looks far better on him. But I still wear it all the time anyway. And then I knit with some particularly lovely yarn that I had from someone a dyer that's used to live locally to me. She's moved, her name's Sai. It's Happy Hank yarn. So Happy Hank Company, or Happy Hank Co. is the yarn company. But she's actually moved, I think, up to Queensland now. But I bought her yarn, so some fingering and her mohair in what I call my Jarvis colour. She's actually got a particular colour that's called though. Jarvis is my dash hound, that's the brown one, that's this colour. and I knit the Felix Pullover. I'll pop a photo of me wearing it here. And again, like that possum hat, because this is fingering with mohair, it's incredibly light, but incredibly warm. And I think this was actually my most luxurious knit. I really want to knit again, but unfortunately from an affordability standpoint, yarn like this one, that's like $38 a skein, and there's a fair bit, and that was just for the fingering, let alone the mohair. So it works out that it's something like this costs, you know, a couple of $100 to knit, and it's just simply not in my budget. So while I love it, and it's one of my most beloved knits, I'm very, very careful about it. And I do agree, absolutely spend that money on something that's particularly important to you. But I could only do that once. That can't be a regular thing for me. I'll just stick with my Bendigo Wooler Mill stuff. Okay, and then I have this beauty, which is the Weekend Slipover. Again, I'll put a photo up here with me wearing it. This is by Petite Knits. Now, this was a most amazing construction, and seriously, I'm actually going to knit quite a few more of these, but I want to make it longer. I almost want to make it not quite tunic length, like not quite short tunic length, but definitely longer. This is a real good workhorse. And this I knit with, I think I knit it with an 8-ply, so a DK yarn, and then just put a, from Bendigo Wooler Mills, they have a mohair blend. So their mohair isn't 100% mohair. It might be, I don't know, part acrylic and maybe 30% mohair or something like that. So I can definitely feel the difference between the mohair from this beauty to the mohair from this one. You can even see the difference. But it still gave me that extra warmth. Definitely not the luxuriousness of this one, but still a good workhorse one. All right, this guy. This was a test knit, not a test knit. This was a mystery knit along that I did. I was so excited about doing. Now, it's first of all, the pattern is gorgeous, but my issue that I had with, and I won't do another sweater mystery knit along, or if I do, it'll be with a designer that I know what they produce. There were a couple of errors in the pattern and changes that were made. So with this one, I was that excited about doing a make along that I actually knitted the sections every single week. I started the day that they came out, I jumped on, I grabbed them, and I sat up late and I actually got it knitted. So I was right up to date for the whole lot. And then, I think about the second week in, a whole bunch of edits came through and changes because there were some mistakes and some things that were forgotten and that kind of thing. And I just found that so disheartening because I was incredibly excited, got in there, got underway, and then these changes kept coming through. Now, don't get me wrong, I completely understand there being changes, but for me I found it so disheartening. So this one isn't the best fit. Excuse me. I followed the instructions, it's just not the best fit. Look, it fits, but it's a little bit too fitted for me. It didn't really talk about the ease in the pattern before you got started, so you're kind of then stuck, and anyway, it was a good learning curve. And I say it's a lovely bit of colour work, great little Halloween focus bit. There should be some bits that I over sewed to actually have coming down and out the cauldron, but as again, I was quite disheartened. I do still wear it, but mostly wear it around the house because I'm not happy with the fit of it. But it is a wonderful and warm jumper. And then I have this workhorse. This is just a Flax Light because it's all in fingering. But this is with all of my scraps. So complete scraps. I'll pop a photo of me wearing it here. And while it's not, that's the back. While it's not the most attractive, depending on what you like, it's wonderful and breezy and relaxing to wear. So it's actually quite nice and comfy. Now, there are loads more that I have knitted and finished and moved on since I last podcasted. And what I'll do is I'll actually just pop a bunch of pictures of them up here so you actually see them as we go through. I have done many beanies, especially for Arlo, so doing a lot of children's beanies. I finished the temperature blanket, so in 2021 I did a temperature blanket, or started it. Now I only finished it in the last couple of weeks, and I only did 6 months worth of temperature blankets because the intent was just for in the lounge room to pop over your lap. I did a beautiful flax baby size for Arlo out of some yarn. I'll grab the yarn in a sec, from my last trip to Sydney. So I'll show this here, and I'll show you the yarn in a moment. And a beautiful multicoloured flax for my daughter. Okay, so now works in progress. Now, I did already show you my mitten, so that's a work in progress. Now I'm also working on the Jones cardigan, I think it is, tincanknits. I wanted to have a really nice complex cardigan on the needles. Just something that's actually going to take some time and have to think about. It's not going to be such a quick knit. So having said it's not that complex, it's just some cabling and some moss stitch. But I'm knitting a large because I want it to be a little bit oversized, although with shrinkage and growth, who knows, maybe it'll just be the perfect size. It's actually quite nice, and this is in a nice rustic yarn, so it'll be good and hard wearing. What's that? I've maybe done 5-6 inches already. Obviously it's bottom up. So the Jones by tincanknits, so it'll be quite nice. I've been I think I need to take a break from it for a couple of days, so it's one of those things, can only do in between things. It's a slow going. Now, for Arlo, I knit him a little while ago these overalls. I'll pop it up on screen. I think they're the Mtoto Overalls, MTOTO. I'll link it below as well. And I knitted in a nice flecked brown yarn that my daughter loves. And then she wanted another pair because Arlo's growing fast, and she swears that she didn't wash it in hot water or chuck it in the dryer, but somehow she's managed to felt the overalls. So I'm suspending belief because, you know, there's only certain ways that things can be felted. But anyway, so she's asked for another pair. So she's picked the yarn. Now she went through my substantial stash and picked out a whole bunch of yarn that she wants me to knit with. I think it's this one. Just in this, I chucked it all in a bag so that, yep, this is the one. So I'm allowed to knit things, yes, we're all finding it amusing, with this yarn here. This nice one with some stellina in it. This was a holiday purchase when I was down on the coast in Victoria, so that's quite nice. Another one with stellina in it. I used to get a Knit Crate subscription. Actually, I've just resubscribed to them, so I'll be starting to get some more Knit Crate yarns again. So that one. And because she particularly likes things with flex in them, this one here, which is actually a wool and acrylic blend from Bendigo Wool and Mills. So maybe she'll find that a bit more difficult to felt. We'll find out. But I'm a little bit, I've been knitting a bit slow. Normally these kind of overalls, it might take, you know, a day, maybe two. It's actually not such a big knit. But I've been knitting a little bit slower than I normally would, because quite frankly I'm a bit disheartened about her felting them. And it's discouraging going through the effort of knitting up beautiful things to have them destroyed in a couple of weeks. But anyway, I've got to get over myself because it's not about any of that. It's about having hand knits for my grandson. So of what I've knit for him so far, I've knit vests, I've knit deco weight jumpers, fringing weight jumpers, overalls, a big oversuit for winter time in the pram when he's fully dressed. You sort of get him fully dressed and you pop him in this one. And that was a petite knits one, but I'll pop it all up there. So there's loads that I've done for him. Now, I am currently knitting as well. I've done one sock. Oh, that's really, I need to put it on a sock blocker. Hasn't been washed or soaked yet. So this is a beautiful, you'll see the halo on this yarn. So when I was on holidays recently up seeing family in Sydney, there's a yarn shop I always go to, the Wool Inn in Penrith, and they had this new sock yarn in, which is a new base. It's a superfine merino and alpaca, and I'm incredibly skeptical about how alpaca is going to go on a sock because I can't see it staying up. But apparently I've been assured by the shop that they've done something to it that is actually going to not just go alpaca-like. But either way, it's as soft as you would imagine. Now, I find alpaca incredibly itchy. Hopefully I don't on my feet. We'll find out soon enough. But to knit with it is absolutely beautiful. So, yes, absolutely loving knitting on it. And I'm actually using, I don't normally use, normally my sock needles of choice are actually, I don't have them here with me. Either I knit with my Chalgu fix, I always do magic loop, or I knit with my Zings, the 80 centimeters fixed as well. I typically knit on 2.5 millimeters, but these are actually some higher bamboo ones, and I'm really enjoying them with them, enjoying knitting with them. I am worried I'm going to break the tip of the bamboo because it's bamboo, so it's not as though it's exactly, you know, ridiculously sturdy, and I'm worried with the smaller needles that I'm actually going to break the tip of them, and when I do that, obviously I just have to chuck them away, but until they do, I'm quite enjoying knitting with those. Put that away. What else do I have on the needles? I think that might be it. I was starting to get a bit paranoid because I had a hell of a lot of stuff on the needles recently that I hadn't been finishing. I'd just been chopping and changing. But I made a point of actually getting a whole bunch of stuff finished off. So I think I can give myself permission, not that I needed it, to actually cast on, I'm wanting to cast on a new shawl. I really want to do something really big. One of the things I love about that Stephen West shawl is I actually tend to wear it. I wear it across the back, bring the ends across the front, cross them over, and actually tie it at my back, and then adjust things so it is like wearing a jacket or a jumper, and it's actually tied in place. So I really like a large shawl because I can do that with it. So yeah. Anyway, I will say thank you for being here. I'll be a bit more organised in my next one. Oh, one sec. The temperature blanket that I spoke about, my husband's just bringing it in, but I had a picture of it to show you, but this is it here, obviously. So these pinker, the lighter colours were as we get into winter, darker colours down into summer with the heat. So, thank you. Alright, so thank you very much. I will pop some pictures up of the Musselburgh hats that I've been knitting on as well. The flaxes, you'll have seen all that sort of stuff. I am now up to, if I have a look here, I'm up to I finished my 8th flax, my 5th Musselburgh hat, and my 7th Flax Light. No, 8 Flax Lights. So I'm thinking that my jumper of choice or sweater of choice has been a flax. I probably should grab a different one, but when something works, why not? So yeah, it's been a rather busy knitting time. So again, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully it won't be so, well, not hopefully, it won't be so long before I podcast again. Things have kind of settled down for me now at school, so we'll see how it all goes. I've been fortunate that I'm teaching all Year 10 classes this year. So at the moment I've got a Year 10 literature class, a Year 10 English class, a Year 10 history class, and a Year 10 politics class. So having all Year 10 students means I have far less behavioural issues in class, which is wonderful. And we're in term 3 now, so we're approaching the end. We're halfway through. I think this week we're coming into week 5 and it's a 10-week term. So anyway, it's all survivable, thank goodness. But I've got to tell you, the teaching profession hasn't been the best since COVID, so we'll see how all that goes. All right, again, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, wonderful week, and enjoy your knitting.